Welcome back to Into the Gray. I'm your host, DK Hall. In law enforcement, we talk a lot about the darkness, the heavy calls, the moments that stick with you, the things you don't really shake. But if you stay in this job long enough, you start to realize something. The world isn't just black and white, and it isn't always heavy. Sometimes, the gray isn't dark at all. Sometimes, it's just bizarre. There's a certain kind of person you meet out on the road. They're not criminals in the way people imagine. They're not masterminds or, well, mental heavyweights. They're just characters. People living in a version of reality that doesn't quite line up with yours. And if you work long enough, you start running into the same ones over and over again. This is the story of one of those people. To protect her identity, we'll call her Goldie. You'll see soon why I call her that. First time I met Goldie, I was working an assault call in the northern part of the county. Older woman, late 60s, sitting on her porch, minding her business, enjoying the summer evening, when she gets attacked with her own crutch. The suspect, according to the victim, had been down the hill behind a trailer, huffing spray paint. She thought her name was Goldie, and she said she was built like a football player. The victim told her to take that somewhere else. Kids were outside. Goldie didn't appreciate that. So she marched up the hill, grabbed the crutch, and went to work. I get to the trailer. It's dark, quiet. I knock on the door. After a minute, the boyfriend comes up and tries to make me think I don't see him. Then, instead of opening it, he's trying to talk to me through this little diamond-shaped window in the door. I tell him I need to speak with Goldie. He yells back into the house, "Goldie! Get in here! There's a state boy here!" From somewhere deep inside the trailer, I hear, "I'm in the damn tub!" She's in the tub. Her voice carries, I said. So we waited. Eventually, she walks into the living room, and I remember thinking right then, this was not going to be a normal night. She's got a white towel wrapped around her head. That's it. And on the right side of her face is a perfect, shimmering, V-shaped swath of gold spray paint. I looked at her and I said, "I think you missed a spot. Are you a lefty?" Puzzled, she said, "Yeah. How'd you know?" "Just a guess. Go put some clothes on." After she got dressed, she admitted to the whole thing. In her mind, the woman had started it by not tending to her own business. As I'm putting her in the back of the cruiser, EMS shows up for the victim. And Goldie yells out, "Why in the hell is an ambulance here? I didn't hit her that hard." "Well, Goldie, maybe you don't know your own strength." She sits quietly in deep thought for a few seconds. Then she leans forward, looks at me, and says, "What's your name, anyway?" I said, Trooper Hall. She looks at me real serious and says, well, Trooper Hall, I think you're purty. If you ain't married, when I get out of jail, I might have to ask your ass out. I told her as tempting as an offer as that was. She seemed pretty committed to the guy back in the trailer. She didn't see it that way. Here's the thing about characters like Goldie. They always come back. A few months later, I get called out for a criminal mischief. I pull up to a house that looks like it's been abandoned for years. That's when I see someone standing in the middle of the yard, hands on their hips, staring at an empty cage in complete disbelief. The person hears me pull in and turns around. It's Goldie. A sheriff's deputy pulls in behind me. Goldie looks at both of us, completely serious, and says, I need a report that someone has stole my raggits. I said, your what? My raggits. The deputy looks at me. I look at him. He says, what in the world are raggits? Goldie gets even louder. Raggits! I had to explain to her. Saying it louder doesn't make it a word. Finally, she puts her fingers up on her head like ears and says, you know, bunnies. Rabbits. Raggits. Close enough. So I asked her who stole them. And that's when the story starts to come together. Goldie had found these raggits. She had found this house. And she had put the rabbits in a broken cage that wasn't hers, on property that wasn't hers, in a house she definitely didn't live in. So I told her, Goldie, I think the raggits that aren't yours got out of the cage that isn't yours and went back onto the property that isn't yours. She thought about that for a second. Didn't love it. The deputy is standing behind me at this point, hand over his mouth, trying not to lose it. I told her it would probably be a good idea to leave before the actual owners showed up. I ended up giving her a ride down to a Texaco station just to get her off the property before we had to add trespassing to the list of her growing criminal history. I thought I was done with Goldie after that. I was wrong. The third time I ran into Goldie was the grand finale. High noon on a Tuesday. Loud music complaint, which was odd in itself. I head out to the end of this holler that looks like something out of The Hills Have Eyes. Broken down cars everywhere, abandoned houses, and trailers aplenty. But the one other occupant in this holler didn't like their peace being disrupted. I can hear the music before I get out of the cruiser. AC/DC. You Shook Me All Night Long. Blasting so loud the windows are rattling in this house. I walk up to the house, an A-frame, and realize the front steps are gone. Just cinder blocks standing on both sides. Nothing in between. 6 to 8 feet straight up. So now I'm climbing up these things like I'm Super Mario trying to get to the porch. I finally make it to the top, glance through the front door window, and there she is. Goldie. Alone. Surrounded by empty beer and whiskey bottles. It looked like a college linebacker with long blonde hair dancing like nobody was watching, which is unfortunate because I was. It was a mix between Elaine from Seinfeld and a full-blown medical emergency. I start pounding on the door. Nothing. I hit it again, harder. Finally, she spins around, sees me, and freezes. And then she tries to slowly sidestep. Like, if she moves carefully enough, I won't notice her. I'm standing there, looking right at her, mouthing through the glass, I can see you. She finally shuts the music off and opens the door. I said, did you really think I couldn't see you? She said, and I'll never forget this, well, I was hoping you couldn't. She told me she was watching the place for a friend. I told her I didn't think her friend wanted their stereo speakers blown out and the liquor cabinet emptied. I looked at her and said, Goldie, the music is so loud, the people in the next holler can hear it. So stifle it. And I don't want to come back here and witness another Dancing with the Stars audition. Are we good? She said, yeah, we're good. Then she paused, looked at me again, and said, hey, what's your name again? I just said, bye, Goldie. As I turned to climb back down those center blocks, I heard her mutter just loud enough. Still pretty, though. You know, looking back, Goldie's exactly what the Gray really is. She wasn't dangerous in the way we trained for her. She wasn't some major case. But she's the kind of person you don't forget. Because the job isn't always about the big moments. Sometimes it's gold spray paint on the right side of somebody's face. Sometimes it's climbing 6 feet of cinder blocks at noon on a weekday. And sometimes it's standing in the middle of a holler trying to figure out what in the world a raggit is. Thanks for taking this ride with me through the gray. I'm DK Hall, and I'll see you next time, a little further down the road.